The House passed President Biden's $1.85 trillion spending bill Friday morning. That's after Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy's 8.5-hour speech pushed the vote to Friday morning. Bank of America is reportedly launching a pilot program to separate vaccinated employees from those who are unvaccinated. This comes as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a package of bills that aim to counter federal vaccine mandates in a town called Brandon. And a little holiday cheer arrived at the Capitol Rotunda Friday. The massive 84-foot-tall Christmas tree made its way from California to the Capitol. Tune into Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. It seems House Democrats can have their Thanksgiving break after all. The House just passed President Biden's nearly $2 trillion spending plan this morning. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had previously said the House couldn't break for Thanksgiving until they passed the Build Back Better bill.
The Build Back Better bill is passed.
Democrats wanted to vote Thursday, but they had a long wait. That's because Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy delayed it with an 8.5-hour speech. McCarthy started speaking at 8:38 p.m. At 5 a.m. this morning, he asked, "Am I there? I want to be way over." At 5:10 a.m., he ended by saying, "With that, Madam Speaker, I yield back." House Republicans stayed for the entirety of McCarthy's speech and gave him a standing ovation at the end. His long speech beat out House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's previous record. In 2018, she spoke for 8 hours and 7 minutes. In McCarthy's speech, he went after the provisions in the bill that provides a 5-year parole to migrants that come into the country illegally before January 1st of 2011. Saying that the winners of this mass amnesty would be the smugglers and the criminal cartels who get a government-provided advertisement for new customers. The losers, however, would be the rule of law, legal immigrants, and most importantly, American citizens. He also went after the provision that allows the IRS to look into personal bank accounts for transactions over $600, a provision that Democrats have said will allow the administration to gather more taxes from tax-evading billionaires.
What the Democrats are proposing is out of touch in the extreme. What we have before us isn't a social spending bill. It's a pathway to socialism.
McCarthy said all the new spending will be borrowed from the American taxpayer. And if Democrats supply so much money in a tight economy, it'll lead to more inflation.
It angers me. We are so better than this. You are spending so much money. Never before. We spent less defeating Hitler, Mussolini, and Japan than you're spending tonight.
According to Norwich University, the oldest private military college in the U.S., if you account for inflation, World War II cost over $4 trillion. The nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says Biden's spending bill could potentially cost nearly $5 trillion if temporary provisions are made permanent. Despite differences, Pelosi and McCarthy agree on one point.
We have the Build Back Better bill that is historic, transformative, and larger than anything we have ever done before.
Senate Democrats are still working to get enough votes. Several Democrats, including Senator Joe Manchin, have raised concerns about the price tag. That could lead to another battle in the Senate. So what about the price tag? The Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, said Thursday that Biden's bill would increase the U.S. deficit by $367 billion over 10 years, but it could generate $207 billion from tax enforcement activities. That's much lower than the White House's estimate of $400 billion. CBS reports, despite the worse-than-expected findings, the White House welcomed the CBO's report, calling it good news for Democrats. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also welcomed the news, saying all the different scores together make it clear that Build Back Better is fully paid for. Now, staying in the Capitol, a little holiday cheer arrived today. The official Christmas tree is just about ready for decorating. The 84-foot white fir rode on a tractor trailer from the Six Rivers National Forest. That's clear across the country in California. The tree made pit stops on its journey, visiting towns along the way. The fir has a name, Sugar Bear, and also present St. Nicholas, helping to get the tree into position. Now, it's been placed in the Capitol's West Lawn and is ready to shine. Decorations for this year's tree also come from California, where they were made by hand in several different communities. Speaker Nancy Pelosi will officially light the tree in December. Now, what about questions around vaccine mandates? While OSHA has suspended it following the Fifth Court of Appeals, the White House continued to ask companies to enforce it on their own. And it seems one major bank is doing just that. Bank of America is reportedly launching a pilot program to separate vaccinated employees from those who are unvaccinated. It comes as the White House insists companies follow the federal vaccine mandate despite OSHA suspending it. A source who works at the Bank of America said the company is going to separate vaccinated employees from the unvaxxed. He told this to the Epoch Times and asked to remain anonymous. The source said the unvaccinated will be confined to one floor with offices and a restroom, but can't go anywhere else in the building. They said it's segregation, and I'm blown away. Bank of America does not have a vaccine mandate. The bank told the Epoch Times it plans to prioritize bringing vaccinated employees back to the office first. And it said that unvaccinated employees are starting to be brought back and will follow CDC guidance, including masking, social distancing, and testing. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said private businesses with over 100 employees should follow the federal mandate.
Our message to businesses right now is to move forward with measures that will make their workplaces safer and protect them, their workforces from COVID-19. That was our message after the first stay issued by the Fifth Circuit. That remains our message, and nothing has changed.
It comes after a circuit court in New Orleans reaffirmed its decision to block it, and OSHA suspended it. Several Republican states, businesses, and individuals have sued Biden over it. Despite that, Psaki said they are confident they have the authority to implement it and that a poll shows businesses are enforcing some kind of mandate. And in Louisiana, the state Supreme Court is going to hear arguments next month over a vaccine mandate by the state's largest healthcare provider. It involves OSHA Health. Its employees in Shreveport, Louisiana, won a challenge to the mandate when an appeals court blocked the mandate last month. But around Lafayette, a state judge did not block it. Meanwhile, in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a package of bills that aim to counter federal vaccine mandates. He chose to do it in a Florida town called Brandon. DeSantis signed 4 bills against vaccine mandates on Thursday after he called a special legislative session. He wanted to make sure that lawmakers could pass the bills before the deadlines of the mandates.
People are actually losing their jobs right now if we don't do these protections. So we needed to do that, and they stepped up, and I think it's something that's going to make a big, big difference for an awful lot of people. We are respecting people's individual freedom in this state.
One of the new laws deals with Florida businesses that mandate the COVID-19 vaccine. These businesses must allow medical and religious exemptions for pregnant women and people with prior infection. Businesses that flout the requirement face fines ranging from $10,000 to $50,000 per incident.
We're actually doing a science-based approach. For example, we recognize people that have natural immunity. You have natural immunity. Whatever a private employer wants to do, you're automatically exempt because of natural immunity. And I think that that's very, very important.
The governor's press secretary says that hosting the signing ceremony in Brandon, Florida was by design, and there was a message sent. This apparently refers to the viral phrase, "Let's go Brandon," which makes fun of President Biden.
I want to thank Brandon Honda for hosting us. We're proud to be able to make a stand for freedom in Brandon, Florida.
The other new laws will create a new agency to supersede the federal government's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, and prohibit the Florida Surgeon General from mandating vaccines during a public health crisis. Now, let's turn to the holidays coming up. Reports say this year's Thanksgiving dinner is going to cost up to 14% more. And it's not just the Thanksgiving dinner that's going to cost more. Trouble is brewing for coffee lovers. That next cup of magic Java beans may cost you a little more, thanks to inflation and extreme weather. Coffee futures have jumped to the highest level since 2012, causing panic in the financial market. Part of the problem is severe drought and frost conditions in Brazil, which is the world's largest coffee supplier. The Consumer Inflation Report shows there is some good news. Although coffee prices are rising, they haven't increased as much as other items. Starbucks and other companies buy far in advance, which allows them to keep prices in check for now. And now, before we end, this is one of the oldest surviving copies of the U.S. Constitution, and it has a new owner. An anonymous phone bidder squeaked past a group of cryptocurrency investors who had pulled $40 million. Sotheby's says it sold at auction for $41 million on Thursday. Sotheby's had only expected to get up to $20 million for the copy. The company says it was printed in 1787 for delegates of the Constitutional Convention and Continental Congress. They had been drafting the document, and their printers created 500 copies of the final official edition. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and have a wonderful weekend.